for being with us for this discussion, which I think will prove to be very significant in the overall discourse that we're having today. Your Excellency, welcome. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you, Mustafa. It's a great honor to be here with you today.
The National Human Rights Institution, which you're the chair of, was founded sort of a little bit under 5 years ago, aligned with the Paris Principles, helping to build a culture of human rights here in the UAE, building on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I would surmise that the influence of evolving technologies and emerging technologies would come under that broad mandate that the institution would have, and in particular, AI would be something you've been looking at very closely these last few years.
Absolutely. But before I indulge in our wonderful discussion, I would like to express my absolute appreciation and sincere gratitude to His Excellency Dr. Hamad Seif Al-Shamsi, our Honorable UAE's Attorney General, and his wonderful team for such an excellent event and a very deep and thorough discussion that we've witnessed this morning. When it comes to the National Human Rights Institution, which I'm very honored and proud to serve as the chairperson, it actually started with the Federal Law number 12 of the year 2021, based on the Paris Principles, where it has its own independence, autonomy from the administrative, financial aspects, but also the federal law specified 14 areas of specialties, what determines what the NHRI actually does, the work that it focuses on, and one of them is related to legislation and also developing ideas, proposals, and suggestions in which we can further our legislation to further foster human rights. We focus on 4 main topics that we've determined. Number 1 is the rights of labor and how we can support our workers wherever they are within the UAE. The second important direction is focusing on the rights of women, rights of children. The third direction is focusing on the rights of the people of determination, people with disabilities. And the fourth direction is the right to health and right to mental health. And with the ongoing understanding and also involvement of AI in every aspect of the work that we are doing, we realize that there's an ongoing discussion and debate how much human rights is at the heart, at the center of the thinking, of the policy when it comes to AI. And this is where we took the initiative last year and we communicated with the Office of the Minister of Artificial Intelligence, His Excellency Omar Al-Olama, and then we started participating in several activities, engagements, debates, and discussion. And recently we were at the Dubai retreat on AI, not just participating as in trying to be part of the discussion, but also our team was part of the training over there because we think AI and human rights, they go hand in hand.
And this is something that isn't new. Technology, human advancement, science, I mean, it's there in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I think it's Article 27, if I remember correctly, that deals with science. And so this is a question that has been there as long as civilization has been developing. Where is the line between scientific discovery that is beneficial? At what point do we need to protect ourselves from it? And how does this relate to the modern concept of human rights?
Absolutely, and in fact, I would go even further. The Article number 1 of the Universal Declaration actually emphasizes the importance and the centrality of human rights, human freedoms, human dignity, and therefore the question and debate will always be, what does it all mean? Now, when we started our session, I think the assistants, they came and they brought something wonderful that I like to use.
Yes.
And allow me to introduce my friend over here. Basically, looking at this beautiful sculpture, the question that I'd like to raise with everyone, what do you actually see? Is it a human trying to become a machine, trying to transform to something greater and more intelligent? Or is it actually a machine trying to become a human and therefore tries to be conscious, tries to be aware, and therefore trying to move forward with our understanding? The dichotomy that we're seeing Are we having a debate between a dilemma where we see a world of matrix, we're all plugged in, we're all being controlled by a greater algorithm? Or actually we're looking at the bicentennial man, when the machine becomes so conscious, so aware of itself, that it will claim at certain point that it wants to become a human, because it wants to have human attributes. You see, I would summarize the current dilemma we have when it comes to the AI. And I'm sorry that we started a little bit philosophical, but I think there's no escape by asking the grand questions. The great Czech writer Kafka once wrote, "I'm a cage in search of a bird." The human aspect of AI and what we've developed with the AI, it left it in a way in search of its soul, in search of its meaning, trying to find a purpose. As an AI, as advanced technologies, what the direction that we need to take? Are we advancing human rights in the middle of the thinking of AI, or AI is going to shape human rights, and maybe later on we'll have robotics rights, machines rights, and artificial intelligence rights?
You say we, and I ask, whose responsibility is it? Who is that we? Is it your institution? Is it the government? Is it companies? Is it individuals out there? Who should be deciding whether it's machine or man or vice versa?
All of the above. We, as in the collective mind, the collective cognitions, the collective understanding of what it means to have an ethical AI where people, humans, are at the center of it. You see, Mustafa, one definition of critical thinking is the awakening of the intellect to study itself. And we are at this pivotal moment of our technological advancement that we collectively need to pause and think and reflect what direction we need to take. What does it all really mean? When we look at the world today, we see very interesting but bizarre phenomena that we need to address. Digital poverty. There's a percentage of the population on this planet who don't even have access to electricity, let alone technology, let alone AI. And therefore, what's the role in the future as we push for the advancement? Questions about privacy, data privacy, ownership of that data, how we're going to protect that. Do I, as a person, have the right to delete a certain account or decide not to have my data used? Do I even know who owns this data and what happens to it? What about crime? What about those who will utilize, unfortunately, this kind of technology, that they will use it for all kinds of crime, incitement of hate, extremism, let alone all kinds of criminal activities. And therefore, we constantly need to remind ourselves that as we move forward with this kind of technology, how much of that we can look into it. We've seen in previous criminal activities what's so-called deviant creativity. Creative minds utilizing innovative technology in the direction that is harmful. Therefore, we need to have a different type of creativity, creativity that puts humanity at the center of its innovation.
And also that sets out the legal, I guess, jeopardy of bringing in the machine and allowing it to extend some of that deviant creativity.
Absolutely.
You know, already, I know you're an expert in psychology, as well as a philosopher, clearly, from today's discussion.
That's an honor I don't claim, but thank you very much.
You've studied psychology, and you've seen cases where humans, without technology, have gone too far.
Absolutely.
And so with that technology, it allows humans to remove themselves even more from the abuse, from the damage they might be causing.
Absolutely.
And so where, you know, how do we deal with that, essentially?
To be very frank with you, as we move forward with our thinking, what we have noticed constantly, that there is this competition between how we can advance technology to save time, money, and effort, but at the same time understanding why we have these technologies to begin with. For example, there is a direction at the moment to utilize AI in the field of advancement of mental health, where we can have sessions remotely, where we can use the metaverse, virtual reality, augmented reality to treat certain type of challenges, for example, phobias and other forms of challenges. But then how much of the AI and modern technology actually impacts our mental health, that makes us ill, makes us exhausted, makes us tired, and makes us want to leave the world and continue to do something very different. And therefore, as we advance with these technologies, the question of how much of the effort that is needed to regulate, but also to have policies in place, while continuing the competitive advantage of advancing this technology will continue. I believe there's a level of depth and, frankly, honesty needed when it comes to discussing these technologies and realizing how much of these technologies are actually harmful or how much of these technologies are actually harmless and advancing the way we need to move forward. On the question related to, for example, the role of AI and human rights, it's not just how we want to govern AI from a human rights perspective, but can we also be innovative enough to see, can AI advance human rights? Can we have certain algorithms, certain applications, certain systems that actually advances human rights, provides the level of awareness, level of education, level of understanding that is required in order to constantly think in human rights terms?
I mean, I think we've seen this morning from various sessions that the AI, the capabilities provide us with both defense and attack. And so we can use AI to maybe root out some of the abuses of human rights in the physical world.
Absolutely.
And that's where the technology will support
Absolutely.
your work.
Absolutely.
But also it introduces a whole new universe in which it's brand new human rights abuses. Like, for example, when you talked about mental health, and what AI has done in terms of social media, twisting something that might have been access to education and information into something that was far less benign.
Absolutely. And to take your point further, Mustafa, let's imagine this scenario. Somebody so deviant utilizes AI, robotics, to perform a kind of torture on a human. Now, the one who's performing the torture is non-human, an AI or a robot or a machine. The question of accountability, then it goes to whom? Is it to the machine itself, the programmer, whoever actually invented it, who's paying the electricity bill? How we actually understand that kind of behavior and what does it mean? When we talk today about the ethical decision-making of automated cars, and we have all read and seen the different scenarios, what decision a car would make that will put human judgment first? And that constant attempt to mimic human thinking, human cognition, is something that we always need to pay attention to, because sometimes there are areas that are unknown, that are uncertain, and therefore how far we can go with designing scenarios that mimic the human ability for decision making. And therefore the determination of who is accountable, whose responsibility is it to deal with these issues, remains an open discussion.
And it is an open discussion, but we are making progress, we're making headway.
Absolutely.
For example, the UAE's strategy on AI touches upon data and privacy points you mentioned earlier. And then we also have specific legislation on data privacy. And if we're talking purely about the risks of AI for the individual, it probably starts there, I imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, today in the morning, we've heard a lot about what the UAE is doing in terms of advancing its own legislation system, its AI infrastructure, and the protection that is needed. The question is, we are not living in silos. We're part of the world, and others are doing something similar. How much of their effort corresponds with the UAE's vision to be able to balance the advancement of the technology, accelerating the innovation, while maintaining humanity and human principles at the core of this process? And therefore, how we can move forward with that discussion is by allowing more debates in this regard, but debates that are guided by the outcome. What is it that we want? What's the desired outcome that we want, and how we can actually utilize our current understanding and advancement of technology in order to further the human interest.
And is the current infrastructure, if you like, if we think of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights or the Paris Principles, is the current infrastructure fit for purpose for this new era that we're entering in?
To be very frank with you, the answer is no. We need, in many, many ways, to push our boundaries and understanding, because the type of challenge, the type of innovation we haven't seen that before previously in history. And therefore, we need to have new wave of thinking. We need to rethink and imagine what's the role of AI and modern technologies when it comes to human rights. Yes, the set of principles we have, the declarations we have, we know that the world has agreed that human rights need to be at the center of this process, but then how much we can catch up with the quickness, the speed of the development with our thinking in terms of what is beneficial for the public, what is beneficial for the community. For example, can we see some sort of legislation or processes in which any product that uses AI of any sort, it will become mandatory that they have to declare it's an AI generated, for example. If I'm sending an email to an entity requiring a service, can there be some sort of a declaration that this person you are dealing with, that email you're receiving is generated by a bot? And then if I, as a human, want to have a phone call, not with a machine, not with a bot or chit chat on a WhatsApp, I want to have that with a real person, can we have that happen? And can we allow that as an option for us? You see, the right to choose for humans is very important in the sense that what makes me valuable and what preserves my dignity. However, how we can balance the need for efficiency with the need for humanity, this is something we still need to figure out.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for your thoughts and your time. Please join me in thanking His Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.